Let us move on to the approval of our minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as given with necessary corrections, if any.
I second the motion.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Have you had a chance to consider them, and are there any corrections? There is one major correction on the front. It should say Mr. Ben Gross. Miss.
Yes. There you go, Ben.
I thought they were saying I missed something. Thanks, Becky.
Sorry about that.
Any other corrections? Are you ready for the question? All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye. Aye. Opposed? In the opinion of the chair, it carries. We call to order the meeting of the Midtown Redevelopment Board for Tuesday, May the 14th, 2013. At this time, we'll have our roll call.
Ms. Benjamin?
Excused.
Ms. Simonette? Here. Mr. McGee?
Here.
Ms. Cato? Here. Ms. Ford?
Here.
Ms. Hurd?
Here.
Mr. Williams?
Here.
Dr. Jameson? Here. Chairman Tullock?
Here. We've invited Apostle Mayhew, if you from New Light Family Church, to do our invocation for us, and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by our own Miss Brown.
That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Good evening to all. Let us prepare for our invocation. Let us bow our head as we pray together. Father, we're grateful and we're thankful for this day, and certainly we thank you for allowing us to come and to share and to discuss and lead in the affairs of this city. And we ask, oh God, that you give us wisdom and knowledge in all that we do. And we pray for peace. We pray for harmony. We pray for safety. We pray for family. Lord, just bless Daytona Beach, that it will be a safe and peaceful place to live. And we thank you for these, your servants, God. We ask that you anoint them afresh, that they may lead with wisdom and sensitivity to the people that live here. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
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 At this time, we turn and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. And to clarify, a brain freeze by your chairman, that was Miss Ford that did the Pledge of Allegiance. At this time, are there any public comments?
Good evening to the board. Pierre Lewis, 130 South Franklin Street. It's been a couple months since I've taken the time to step into the board, business and work in the youth center and kids. But the one comment that I wanted to make tonight was the itinerant vending. Some time ago, the board voted on that to approve that on ISB in the corner of Franklin. And since that time, I remember when they had that, and like I said, it's been a while, but I wanted to at least offer my comments of the resident that lives right behind there. It was great that y'all approved it, because I talked to Miss Sarah across the street, I talked to Miss Keel that lives a little bit further down, and the other residents, and while they conducted their event, whatever it was, from the residents' perspective, or the ones that said that I could speak for them, we can hardly tell that they had the event going on. So if more events were conducted like that, or the vending that was done in that area was done as such like that, we didn't have any problems with it at all. However, I do have a question concerning that, is that, was the vending only to be occurring at that one time, or are there supposed to be subsequent events that are still going to go on without coming to the board? I guess that's my question. So every time when that comes about, are they supposed to come to the board when they're going to have something going on, or, Mr. Tooley, that's what I'm
My
asking.
understanding was that
Just at
was
one time.
one event,
Okay.
and then they would come back to the board when it was something else going on.
Okay, that's what,
My
I didn't
understand-
know, but that's what I was asking.
Let me clarify. There's a master planning process that goes directly to the city commission. So that is how, whether it's, on MMV, MLK, anywhere else in the city, those major events are handled and managed through that process, which
Okay.
is a master plan that the city commission approves. It doesn't come through any boards.
Okay, so from now on, after they've had that one approval, am I right, Reed, that as they have other events that are going, say, to next week, they're going to be selling T-shirts, having other biker events there, it doesn't have to go back through the approval process?
That's my understanding.
That was selling T-shirts.
Yeah, that's my question, Ms. Hurd, that's what I'm asking. If they do things
have
like that.
retail, they have a retail license to sell T-shirts, but not out.
Right, they sell, yeah, I guess I was using it as an example, but I guess I'm saying is, they had that one event, so the next events, if they were going to have something, they don't have to come back to the board.
In other words, may I ask that if I may?
And the reason I'm asking, because if I explain it to my other neighbors, and I say,
Okay.
no, they don't have to go back to the board anymore, because they only had to come to the board the one time, but, okay.
No,
I'm listening,
yes,
They have to get approval
Each and every,
each event.
Okay,
by the city
They're
commission.
not required to come to this board. Now, I'm not sure whether maybe somebody want to be able to report to the city commission that this board supported it in order to garner favor from the city commission, or whether the city commissioners or one of the city commissioners suggested that the board review it. The board's always, can always give advice to the city commission. But if the party who wanted to have the itinerant vending never appeared before this board, the city commission would be empowered to approve that for a specific event. So each time they want to do it in a future master plan event, they have to go back to the city commission to approve.
Okay.
Mr. Pierre,
I just
if
wanna
I'm not
explain it right.
mistaken, I did meet them, and they know the process. March, the Chamber of Commerce, along with the city, handles that, mostly the Chamber of Commerce. And then Oktoberfest, it is done through the city, Helen Riegel's office, which the deadline was last week. But they still can talk to her and use another process of being placed on the master plan.
Okay, yeah, because they were very quiet, and I guess they must have, if they had music, I couldn't really tell. I don't know if I was a hard sleeper or what, but they were very quiet and very polite. You didn't catch much noise. Even the motorcycles were revving. It was very contained, and we were very pleased with that.
Plus, I think they close at 8 o'clock each night.
Well, maybe that's why. They did. Well, if that was the case, then by the time I got home and even from the office, it was done. And when they did have something later on during the weekend, the tourists, the bikers that were there, were pulled in very quietly on Reva Street. They had the aluminum awnings. I was about to say that, but the tarps. I didn't want to go there. They had that in there, but it was very controlled. It was very controlled, and it wasn't loud. It wasn't running down the street. So myself and the other neighbors that lived down there they wanted me to at least come to the board and say, yeah, it was glad that you all approved that because it went well.
Thank you.
But now the other comment I have, and I'm short on time too, is that, Mr. Bryant, I noticed about the sidewalks that they're putting there. On Franklin Street, they've never done those sidewalks on I guess it's the east side of Franklin, South Franklin. And I mentioned that one time before.
West side.
And is it the west side? Yeah, but where my house is at, right?
Yes.
Where on the other side, the sidewalks are always done there during the first time. But on my side, there's still that ditch, and the post office person still can't pull up next to the fence. He or she has to pull up outside. I know I've mentioned that before a number of times. So my other question is, when the city puts those sidewalks there, they've got the one easement, I guess, that goes to the street, and then the sidewalk, that area that's right in between there, who's now responsible for that?
Residents.
Right. So now I'm responsible for the hole that they created.
Keep it clean.
Right. Keep it clean. Thank you. Right. But my question is, there's never been that sidewalk that's on that side of the street. They did it on, what side was it, Ms.?
East.
On the east side, but on the west side, they stopped it right at the corner of Magnolia and Franklin, and then right on the back end of where the Motorworks is at. But then all of a sudden, I don't know, they had a Gatorade break or something. Somebody just stopped and said, I'm out of here, I'm done. That's where Pierre lives, forget it. But either way, they just stopped it right there, so I had a concern of that. But other than that, I'm glad to see the good work of the board. Good to see you again, I'll be back. Thank you.
Good to see
Thank
you.
you. Next item is action item approval of Daytona Beach Midtown Strategic Plan for Commercial Redevelopment.
Board, this item was brought before you last month. This is the strategic plan for commercial redevelopment that was done by PMG, our consultant. We brought it before you last month, and we'll bring it back this month for approval in order that it may move forward and go to the CRA and to the City Commission for approval.
Okay, that is not in our packet.
You got a copy of it last,
Yeah, last month.
you got a copy of it last month.
Okay. Has everybody had a chance to read through it? I did too.
I do.
All right, is there a motion?
As a matter of fact, you were asked to give us comments on it.
I move that it be accepted. Daytona Beach Midtown Strategic Plan for Commercial Redevelopment be accepted and passed on to the next step.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded that the action item approval of Daytona Beach Midtown Strategic Plan for Commercial Redevelopment be approved. All those in favor, let it be known by the sign aye.
Aye.
Nay, like sign. It is approved. Now, yes, sir.
Comment.
Sure.
We're going to be asked one of these days about a project that wants to be built in one of these 5 mini centers that's scattered about, and according to the other guy, there's 7 of them, but the problems are all the same. I have been asking Charles for months that someone from planning give us an enlarged drawing that shows each of those 5 centers and the parcels that would be involved. And we need to understand something simple such as how big is a 7-Eleven? Because, and we're talking about all these little postage stamp lots. And we've got a problem that's just right over the horizon if we're going to be successful in doing this.
That's, in fact, that's part of what Reed was talking about tonight, is that we've got a quilt work of places that the city has bought, but they're not together in a way to form a cohesiveness to bring in any business and develop it in that regard. We have to begin to start putting some teeth to the shell that we've got. We've got a master plan shell, but we need to now deal with how to implement it. That's the thing that I've been concerned about all along, the implementation of it. Because to get something and not be able to implement it is a problem.
In my lifetime.
In my lifetime.
Do you think what would be useful, say on right now on Martin Luther King, International Martin Luther King, if someone could develop using existing maps, what right now is privately owned, what is vacant, just take the existing map and mark that out, what the city has bought, so we could see what is available? Would that be relatively simple using the existing lot maps and just privately owned, city owned, don't know?
Well, that's part of what Ken is asking, if we can get a map that shows us what's there. And so we can identify those locations and find out what needs to be done to make this a reality, because we have no place there for a hotel, even though the master plan calls for one.
Yes, it's bigger than that, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is the time to have a discussion on this.
Well, we should wait until board comments to do all of that. Yes, Mrs. Cato?
Oh, I was just going to say, we have received that over and over and over again. Copies of what Bethune-Cookman owns, the city owns, and what's in Midtown. And just to make a suggestion, I think it would be beneficial if we bring the pack from the month before to the meeting so that we can refer back to notes and things that we have, because a lot of time we're discussing things and what we can't pull from the minutes we have for each agenda item. I think it would benefit us all if we just bring, what are we in, May? Bring May to June's meeting. That way we have the past and the current packets that we can refer back to. I don't know budget-wise what it cost us to keep receiving some things over and over photocopy, but I have a trunk full of paper, so, from Midtown.
You too.
So, some of the stuff we keep asking for, we have it. I mean, if we want to do that for the workshop, and it's something we can keep and just keep bringing back to workshops and informational meetings, I think that would benefit us, because we get quite a bit of trees from Midtown.
And you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
And
I'm
I'm
trying
in
to be
agreement.
mean.
When we have our board
Okay.
comments.
Next, we'll hear our redevelopment project updates.
Before I go to that, I would ask Mr. McGee if you would send me an email with specifics as to what you're looking for, and I'll get that done for you.
Thank you.
Okay, redevelopment project updates. I wanted to give you an update on the 507 Lomas Avenue. I talked about it last month. This was the area where the gasoline place was on Lomas, 507 Lomas. We did have someone from EPA that came down and actually inspected the site again. They did find some gasoline and some oil in some of the smaller tanks, but they are doing an actual report, and they're going to be sending it to us to acknowledge that there's no safety issue at that site. Right now, it's been boarded up, and it's also, we have a chain on the gate, and I have the key to the gate. So it's secure as far as we know, not saying we'll continue to ride by and check to make sure it stays secured. But I did, if you look in the packet that I gave to you, those are pictures of the site inside. The other one is the Old George's Place on South MLK, which is now a church. There, I wanted you to see the landscape that they're doing. It looks nice, the landscape, and the church is being painted and renovated. I think they're going to be having a grand opening at the end of this month. I don't know the specific date, but once I find out the specific date, I will send you an email notifying you of the date and the time of the opening that they're going to be having. Also, I wanted to give you pictures of the new sidewalks on Cedar Street. They're continuing, the sidewalks are going in the Midtown area throughout the community. I just want to, as I find out about them, I would update you on the new sidewalks that's going into our area. The last thing that I have is the workshop that we have planned. Each of you should have a copy of the flyer that I put together. The workshop will be May the 23rd, room 149B here at City Hall, which is downstairs from 4 o'clock p.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. Attorney Ben Gross is going to be here to give us some legal advice and some training, legal training that we need. We also going to discuss some other items that will be on the agenda for that day. We continue to talk about the different items that we would like to see done over the year, the different projects that we like to see done. We want you to update us, bring us your list, so we could go through and prioritize those items as we prepare for the coming year. So we every year we ask you to do this. So we want to do a priority list of the different projects that we would like to see done. Does anyone have any questions of me?
Comment. Sidewalks look great.
Nice and wide. Mr. Chair, do you have any idea of the streets that they will be doing? The sidewalks?
I have to look. I thought we had a list at one point. I can't remember. Do you read?
We do. But we need to refresh that to make sure it's current. So we can do that. We'll see what they have as a new list for us to provide you. Maybe we can get it by the workshop.
Mr. Gato.
I'll assume that we approved the plans for the church. I just noticed that they're going to park on the grass.
Yeah, we approved it.
Okay, I feel.
Yeah. No, they actually have concrete.
They have concrete.
They have concrete parking also.
On the other side?
Spaces.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, which church you talking about?
George's place.
Yes, ma'am.
Will it be okay for them to park on the grass? If you notice, that's what they have here. I live around the corner, so what I saw was only basically 5 parking spaces on the concrete.
I would have to go back out. I didn't count them. I just took a picture. I'll go back out and count them and look at what we approved.
It looks nice.
Yeah, I'll look at what was approved and what they have there.
Unless it's on the other side.
Yeah.
Which they have not.
Okay.
And to answer one of the questions of the date and the time is the 31st of this month at 7 p.m. They will be having a community open house.
Friday, the 31st.
Let me see. And the name of the church is Fellowship Church of Praise.
Pastor Belinda.
Belinda, what's her last name? I can't remember.
Church of Praise.
Fellowship Church of Praise. And also, as far as some places that I know have been marked for sidewalks, Marion Street, Whitehall, and Division. And I just know that because I asked them what they were doing.
My last comment would be, since I didn't get a chance to see the mothers for Mother's Day, happy belated Mother's Day to all the mothers.
And those who stood in the gap.
Yeah. And those who stood in the gap, Ms. Hurd.
Juneteenth. Is the banquet on the night of our regular meeting?
The banquet is going to be on Thursday, June the 13th, and the festival will be on Saturday, June the 15th.
Thank you, sir. Board comments. We'll begin with Mrs. Cato.
Greetings. It's good to see you all again. Just looking at us tonight, we seem like we're tired, and just driving here today, just thinking about the meeting, we have accomplished a lot. It's just a slow process. So don't give up. Keep up the good work. Keep your eyes and ears open. And the suggestion, I looked at you and forgot your name just that quick.
Oh, Mr. Shanks.
Mr. Shanks, that item he proposed to us last month, that is a real good idea that he proposed about the mini parks, where we have this abandoned property in Midtown where companies could come in and pay a rental fee to have their name advertised, and one has a horseshoe pit and game tables, and then another one has, all of them have picnic tables and game tables, but then a bocce ball court, and then the other one is like a trike trail for little kids to go out on their little bikes and ride around. I think that's something we need to Mrs. Hurd, to consider in Midtown with all of this property that we have that's going to be demolished and sit abandoned. I think that would enhance us until we get that master plan vision fully implemented. And to Charles and our secretary and Reed and our attorney, Mr. Shanks, keep up the good work. And Pierre, thank you for supporting us.
Ms. Simonette.
I don't have any comments. I think well, I shouldn't say I don't, but the guy who was trying to get the Johnson property, I think we need to support people like that because he is trying, and that property always seems to be well kept. So, I think that's what we have to do, supporting the people who are really trying to do it right, rather than us complaining that he went and put a sign up and he didn't do it right. So, that's my comment.
Mr. Williams.
Got a few things. I know I don't talk that much, but I wasn't here last week, and I thought that was a very, very good idea that you just made me aware of. I think it's a fantastic thing that we should at least look a little closer at. One of the things that I want to talk about is the neighborhood crime watch that was just started for this area, and I'd like to encourage the board to get involved. That could be a very, very good tool, a tool that could be instrumental, because we need to garner the support of the community. And as I've stated before, that would really give us some teeth. And there's some people in there, and I think if they'll take the time to neighborhood crime watch meetings, if we urge them, you know, they're concerned enough that they might come to our Midtown board meetings. And the people in the community really need to know what's going on, rather than just coming to ask us. And I think that's a really, really important thing, because you know, at the end of the day, we're supposed to be not representing necessarily just our own ideas,
right,
but representing the community. And how can we represent the community if we're not talking to the community and the community is not here? That's real. Another thing that I wanted to talk about is on Keach Street. I mentioned something when we were voting on something a couple of months ago, with the motorcycle shop there on the corner of Keach and International. And just as I had predicted, there's some neighbors that are in my neighborhood crime watch that live in that area, and they have complained about the noise. They've complained about the fact that the motorcycles, they raced up and down Keach Street, and I knew that would eventually be an issue, because people buy motorcycles to ride fast. It's just how it is. So we might need to take that into consideration. And kudos for the sidewalks. I was pleased as punch to see those sidewalks coming in, and it changes the aesthetics in the area so much. And kudos to the city for getting that job done. And again, happy Mother's Day, belated Mother's Day to all of the mothers here.
All right. Dr. Jameson?
I used to say never volunteer, but in this case, I think one of the projects I'm interested in that came out of today's discussion, I asked one time, I think Reverend Gooden, if the Ministerial Alliance existed, and I won't say his comments, but primarily I thought that was a source to get information out to the churches, but it appears that's not effective. But something I would like to do is to get email addresses for the church clerks, I think. It's possible. And I think that maybe we need to use that method to get our information out. The people who do the church brochures, not the ministers, the church brochures, because I think that we don't get information out that we need to get out. And so I'm thinking that with Commissioner Reeves, that we can at least get a list. All you have to do is put it one time into an email, and from now on send out information, particularly the things about the female victims and something as simple as taking things out of the back seat of your car could reduce the possibility of your car being broken to at least 70%. And leaving your keys in your car, I just don't believe that. But I think that we need to communicate more, and maybe that would be a good method to do it. You just collect it one time. I think 6 churches in here, I know at least a representative, and maybe we need to use that to get our information out. I can't think of a better way to do it. Everybody, cousins or somebody goes to church. So I'm just thinking that might be something I want to pursue.
Okay.
Get it right this time. Get it right.
Mr. McGee?
I remain interested in these 5 centers that somehow we could be working toward an RFP. I don't really understand the demographics I don't understand what our consultants are trying to tell us there. They tell us that we've got 7 locations, and they're naming names of companies, and our architectural consultants tell us that we got 5 locations. And nobody knows what these locations consist of. And if somebody came along, the only answer we can give them is, duh. We ought to be prepared. And I have spoken with James in the planning department, and he has the lot plans, and he has another drawing that has those 5 radiuses on it. And all he has to do is put the radius on top of the lot plans and push a button, and it doesn't happen. And this has been going on for months.
Okay.
So that's my request.
All right. Ms. Ford.
No, wait a minute. Or I can
Not
start,
finished
I can start practicing on da-da-da-da-da.
Ms. Ford.
Okay, I want to thank Mr. Bryant for making sure we get all this information ahead of time so we can look over it and be prepared. But I do want to say 2 things. I do agree with Ms. Cato, and I agree that what Mr. Shank provided to us last month is some really good ideas, just some things that we can really promote the community and getting them to do family-oriented activities, not just, being destructive and running the community and the kids are unsupervised. And another thing, I agree with Ms. Simonette about we do have to consider our small businesses that are trying to be in our area and stay within the area and grow in our area, that they do have to take small steps because they don't have necessarily revenue to come large in the beginning. But as long as they comply with the rules, that we support them and try to push them to be, grow, and then they can come up to standards and be greater than what they already are. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mrs. Hurd.
Good afternoon. I have several things to mention. The Johnson service station, I can understand what is going on, but it sort of puzzles me when you go out and buy $6,000, $7,000 of alumina and not knowing that we are going to approve you using it. So I should say thank you, board, for looking at it and giving him the opportunity to sort of beautify the area. But I also was trying to let him know that he was not doing his job by tearing down those posters and announcements that look so terrible. It makes our area look as though we in a war zone. That's just the way I feel about it. And another thing, all of these businesses coming into town, but I think I heard he mentioned the fact that he lives in Port Orange, which means that all the monies and everything going elsewhere. He lives in Port Orange. And I would like to just say for the board, at least we live in Midtown. And, okay, churches. Thank you, Mr. Bryant. This is a beautiful, these are beautiful pictures. And yes, I remember the time when I had good times at George's and probably going to have good times with the church too. All right. But it's going back to what I was saying before and others have said. These people had to come to this board, get approval to go into this building, and the city threw all of these things on them to fix it up. And I come and I question the power to be here about the church in front of the Dickinson Center, which is the Mormons' realty. And the only answers I continue to get is, you got to be careful. You got to be careful. That's in my area. On MLK, we have churches within half blocks of each other. Half blocks, not blocks. And I told you, go there on a Friday evening. They're having service. Go there on Sunday morning at 12 o'clock. They're having service. Everybody, I guess, afraid to go. Or you let whomever you want to have service in their buildings. I don't know. I told you about next to the record shop. I think those the same people maybe that were there. Next to the record shop on the corner of Magnolia and MLK. We got them to close there. Then they moved down to the Mormon building. Why are we here if we're supposed to be the eyes of the community and no one listens? Mr. Brian, on May the 31st, please excuse me. I won't be in town at that time to be at the general meeting, the board meeting, the planning. May the 31st? Are we having
24th.
On the what?
23rd.
23rd. Well, even on the, no, I won't be here on the 23rd. I'll be gone from the 21st to June the 1st. Okay. And Mr. Williams, I would like to say congratulations to you for expanding Neighborhood Crime Watch, but we keep saying Neighborhood Crime Watch, and this is not the first time we've had crime neighborhood watches. I would consider the meeting that we went to yesterday would be a community crime watch. I consider a neighborhood being 3 or 4 streets or a certain area, but Commissioner indicated in the paper from International South or International Boulevard back. That's no neighborhood. That's a community. That's the south side of town, in which we used to call Midtown. Let's get our facts together. We've always had neighborhood watches. And what we're doing now is might be expanding it. And most of the people there yesterday were from the other side of town. I don't know whether you know it or not. Most of the people that were there yesterday were from the north of International. So I will be there to support you.
Thank you.
And others, as I have done in the past. But this is a community watch and not a neighborhood watch. Another thing that was in the Daytona Times was a goal that the commissioner would like to have. I'm sorry she left, but she'll hear about it because someone will tell her. Her goal is to get MLK paved. That's already in our Midtown plan. If it was stated in another manner, in a different manner, we will try to get MLK paved by December of this year. That would be a goal. But it's already in the master plan. To all of you mothers and to myself who have stood in the gap and still standing in the gap of a mother, happy belated Mother's Day, and I will enjoy my away from Daytona. Thank you, and thank you for all that you do. Yes.
No.
Excuse me.
I thought she wanted.
Go ahead, Ms. Summernet.
We received some information where they were asking us to help with Juneteenth financially, and I realized that we didn't talk about it, so I guess it isn't too late to bring that up, is it? Is it? No? last year we supported them, and I'm
Right.
sure that we could do it again this year.
Thank you, Ms. Simonet.
Yeah.
I know letters did go out from the Juneteenth committee. I think it went from the banquet chairman requesting funding from the Midtown Redevelopment Board, and that was approved, I think, Reed, based on what we did last year. $2,500 has been already transferred into to that account. So those funds have already been allocated and placed in that account for the Juneteenth activity.
Okay,
Are we gonna get 2 tickets this year instead of 1?
You got one last year.
Right.
I thought we gonna get 2.
You got one last year.
Stop the check.
I'm new to this, so we get
Stop the
any tickets,
check.
I was asking her how.
I will verify that and contact each board member individually.
Thank you.
And by the way, I won't be there,
Somebody said we could stop the check. I'm just saying.
but I'll make sure everything is done before. The last thing that I had, and it was in your packet. This is what is just a drawing of what we're looking at doing for the Orange Avenue entrances and some of the other Midtown entrances around the area. It's just a drawing for you to look at. You can add to it if you think you could draw better. Dr. Jameson, draw us one and submit it to us, and we'll take a look at it to see if we like it, and if the board like it, and it pass all the inspections by the contractor. So that was the only last thing I'm gonna say. I'm gonna sit down. I won't be here at the next Midtown board meeting in June. I will be thinking about y'all on my cruise.
All right. Well, I do appreciate everyone for being here, being informed about the issues that we've covered tonight. And most of you look like you read over your packet before you got here. And I appreciate that. That makes a big difference. It makes the meeting run much smoother. The other thing that I want to mention is that we are doing a good job of sticking with the issue before us and not going down too many bunny trails and other trails we go down. That's causing us to be able to run the meetings much more efficiently and much quicker, and we won't take up as much time. I appreciate all the public that came out. I always enjoy comments from my good friend, Mr. Lewis. And we appreciate your coming and letting us know that the cycle shop did what they said they would do. We really appreciate that, because if more of the community comes out, we know that we'll be able to hold the businesses more accountable for things that they tell us they're going to do. And last of all, I want to thank all of you all for being good members and going to that meeting and community neighborhood, whatever kind of watch it was. I'm glad y'all were there. We appreciate you. Keep us all in your prayers. Thank you, staff, Mr. Gross, Mr. Berger. I don't want to call you by your first name, but okay, Ms. Groom, Mr. Bryant, and there is no other business to come before us, the meeting is now adjourned.
Item number 7 is site plan DEV 2013-029 Johnson Service Station. The location is 201 South Martin Luther King Boulevard. This is a review of the proposed site plan as required by Article 4, Section 8.2C of the Land Development Code. Review application pursuant to the appearance standard for the redevelopment area as required by Article 3, Section 5.1 of the Land Development Code. This is final site approval by the Midtown Redevelopment Board. The project description: Johnson Service Station is an existing service station located at the southeast corner of the intersection of South Martin Luther King Boulevard, South MLK, and Magnolia Avenue. The applicant is proposing to install an aluminum carport on the site to be used for car wash services. The Land Development Code, LDC Article 5, Subdivisions and Site Plans, Section 4.1, Site Plans require a site plan for any new development on the site. Site Plan Review, Article 4, Section 8.3 of LDC, the reviewing body in reviewing the site plan shall consider whether the proposal is consistent with all applicable policies of the comprehensive plan and whether any conflicting policy would be created. Land use and compatibility: the site is designated retail on the city's future land use map. Retail permits commercial development with floor area ratio up to 3.0. The net gross floor area of the existing building is 1,409. The applicant is proposing to construct a 470 square foot canopy. The project will have a net gross floor area of 1,879 square feet, and the project has a FAR of 0.15. The site is an existing automobile service station that is a compatible use with the adjacent retail uses along South MLK. The zoning, the current zoning is BA, Business Automotive. The purpose of this district is to provide for the appropriate location of offices, retail sales and services, and to promote functional groups of office and commercial uses for the convenience of the public and for the mutual benefits of uses within each district. Light vehicle sales and service is also a permitted use. Site arrangements: the site plan includes an existing auto service building located on a 0.36 acre site. The building is located in the rear of the property with the parking in front of the building. The proposed canopy structure will be located in the front parking lot. I'll go to the next. Should have a picture of it up there. That's the survey. You should have a copy of the survey in your packet, and also there's pictures of the proposed structure itself. Parking and traffic flow: the project is required to provide 3 parking spaces, which are provided. Landscaping: the site is an existing developed site. The LDC requires site and redevelopment areas to be brought into compliance with the landscape requirements in Article 18, Section 2, to the greatest extent possible based on the physical constraints of the site. The constraints of the site with the existing structure and pavement areas does not allow for lot perimeter landscaping. Signage: the applicant is not proposing any signage with this application. In the future, signage will be required to meet redevelopment design standards for signs. Design guidelines and requirements for redevelopment districts. In your packet, you will see the photos of the existing structure and the response for the standard of Article 12, Section 2 of the Land Development Code. The project architecture: the existing building is designed in a commercial vernacular style of architecture. The applicant is proposing to preserve the building structure. The proposed canopy is designed to complement the existing building architecture. The paint colors will comply with the approved colors of the redevelopment area. Also, the applicant is here tonight to answer any questions you might have concerning it. I have been on the site. Initially, this request was brought before me and the zoning officer, and we both would not sign off on it, and the applicant requested that it be brought to the Midtown Board for further review. And the applicant is here tonight, like I said, to answer any questions that you might have regarding it.
Mr. Johnson?
Can I, before why is it called a service station? When, I guess by my definition of a service station, that's the one to either pump gas or get gas or get your car repaired. This is in
This is a place where cars are repaired.
where Mr. Johnson be sitting in there.
Yeah,
Yes, he repairs cars.
Yeah, he repairs
It's
cars.
He literally repairs cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but I thought you just did it for fun or something.
No, he could have done that at home if you're doing it
But
for fun.
in effect, let's just say 80% of the business is car wash, isn't it?
At this time, when we were originally received the license, it was a service station, gas station, and car wash. As time passed and Mr. Johnson has gotten a little older, his ability to do cars as expeditiously as he used to do has diminished. Therefore, right now, the majority of the work that is done at the station is car wash.
So, okay, Mr. Johnson was one of my mother's favorite people, so I don't want to say anything about it. But when he retires, it is simply a car wash.
When he retires, the station is in my name. My name is Earl Johnson also, and I am capable of doing mechanical work as well.
So
So we will continue, even if I have to hire somebody else to do mechanical work. But he will never retire until we bury him.
Now, I know he did my mother's car for years, but I just thought he did it for friends, I didn't know.
No, they have been in business since 1957. And we've had this location since 1988. And it's another location that my family has, as you probably know.
Okay, all right.
And Mr. Johnson, if you would give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Earl Johnson Jr., and my address is 706 Branch Drive, Port Orange, Florida.
Great.
And, I mean, essentially, what we want to do is, right now, what we have is a canopy. And it has the tarp on top of the canopy. And each time you get a strong wind or anything, it blows and rips the tarp. And aesthetically, it doesn't look good. What we are asking is that we can put up another canopy, but it's aluminum. Canopy, and it's a picture, I think, that you have of the canopy. It has aesthetically, it looks a lot better. It matches the building, which was approved by Midtown, and it will keep the guys who are working out of the sun, and it is more durable. We don't have to replace it. Actually, I have a picture, one of the pictures that Mr. Bryant took of the canopy that's up there. I have another picture, not that one. It's one more, I think. One more. It's in your packet, I think.
It's under Google Earth.
But it has a side view of the canopy, and it looks really nice and blue. I have a picture of it on my phone where I took it maybe a week or two later, and it started to rip. So now it's not a blue canopy anymore. It's whatever else color that we have up there at this time, because they're not durable. Therefore, if for the amount of money that we pay on replacing the canopies, if we have a structure and it's not going to be affixed to the building at all. It's just going to be in the place which we have that canopy that's existing.
Chris, I have a couple. First, you all decided not to sign off on it, or you decided not to sign off on it? Okay. Question, Mr. Johnson, how much wind will the canopy withstand? My question is, my concern is, if you have an aluminum canopy, and we get a storm that comes in, then whatever that can become a projectile.
Right.
And so my question is, will it be how, what's the wind resistant?
I don't know what the ratio, I don't know if they did that study on the wind, but I understand that it could become a projectile, but it will be affixed, and we will have someone who's certified to put it down, affix it to the concrete, whatever. I don't know if there is a code or something that we're supposed to put in terms of the wind resistance.
I believe that would be a building department issue,
Okay.
not ours.
You mean it would be a building department issue, and so elaborate on that for me.
I don't,
Use your mic, please.
I'm sorry. That's a field of engineering that this board is not involved with.
We're not
smart enough to do it.
We're not involved in it, but it's being brought before this board.
There's code.
and-
There's code, sir. Mr. Williams, there is a building code and we deal with it.
That specifically deals
like
with it?
signs and a lot of
Right.
different accessory structures, and they will work with the applicant to make sure that it meets our requirements.
And that's going through the permitting process,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay.
I have one more question.
Okay.
And I want to understand. I mean, the business is viable, and it's in our community, and it's legal. I personally, I love to see entrepreneurs, making money, doing their thing, contributing to the community. I just have a couple of questions. Where will the traffic will be entering into?
It will be entering on off of Magnolia. So if you're heading north on Martin Luther King,
Right.
make a right on Magnolia, it'll be entering. You turn right into
Okay.
the driveway. So like you be turning,
Turn
you
right
turn in.
and then right.
Yes, right and then right. So you'll be headed south.
And then you'll just continue to leave outgoing back south.
You can go straight or you can back right out there.
Okay.
I think what my concern is, instead of the aluminum, if you intend to carry on your father's good name, why don't you just make it a permanent?
I think that is a wonderful idea. However, one, it's more costly. Two, the return on the investment will not be there until we get the traffic flow going through the community. I think what we need to do, in my humble opinion, is we need to start out in incremental steps to improve the aesthetics of the community so we can bring other people into the community, and then you can start really develop. I would love to demolish the whole building and build it up and make a drive-through car wash and make it like Sparkling Shine. However, the reason we're not a service station and gas station anymore, because, when we sold Shell Gas, the Shell Gas Farnell was right there in Holly Hill, but they wouldn't sell gas to us in the neighborhood because we didn't sell enough. They sold it to a guy in New Smyrna to come and sell it to us, more expensive than Shell was selling it at other gas stations. So until I would love to do that, but right now, in terms of return on investment, and to stay with what Midtown is trying to do to beautify the community so they can bring people in, aesthetically, I think the aluminum canopy is our most viable avenue at this time.
Good answer.
Sorry.
My concern, Mr. Chairman, has always been safety. And Mr. Williams, he asked the question about the structure being safe when we have our storms. My next concern is after hours, when the property is closed. And we worked hard on our Midtown plan, and you all, I think, made it by the skin of your teeth to be kind of grandfathered in, because we have an abundance of the same things within Midtown. aesthetically, it looks good. You keep it clean. I know with the nightclub being right down the street, they use every business that they can for parking when there's a big function going on at the Safari Pains. Outside of the structure being safe, what preventive measures are you going to do to your property to keep the parking, because they use your place for a parking lot Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And what happens when your structure's damaged by the parking and you have to take it down because now it's structurally unsound? And what are you going to do after hours to prevent it just from becoming a place for people to just hang out? Because, we tend to look for shade and everything. Those are my concerns.
Right. First of all, in regards to the parking situation, I found that it's better to provide them with the opportunity to not than not, because if we try to block off the area, then the probability of them wanting to damage your property is greater. That has been our experience. So we used to put chains around it, and police department put signs up so they won't loiter. If you notice, the people who are renting the car wash from us at this time, they do supervision at night when Payne's is open. So, and they make sure the property is clean, and if cars are going to park, they're going to make sure they park correctly. So they are there pretty much. So we haven't had any problems there in terms of that. And people are going to hang out, and we cannot stop every potential situation. We only can just do the best that we can in terms of trying to minimize it, and that's what we're doing. And we haven't had any problems with someone tearing up the canopy that's currently there at this time. So I don't know if that's going to be something interesting for them to do. I don't know if I.
You answered it.
Question. I know we are speaking of the canopy, but is the property to the south of the building belong to you all?
To the south? No, not that. It's only a piece of it. The property to the south of us, that open area belongs to someone else, the big piece. We only have about 6 to 8 feet on south of the building.
The unpaved surface?
Yes, that unpaved surface belongs to someone else.
The reason why I ask that, because we are also trying to beautify the area also, which means that I probably was suggesting that shrubberies or something be placed there. I understand you only have a small amount. Therefore, we have to go after the other person.
Right.
Also, have you noticed, I'm still on the subject of the beautification of the place. Have you noticed these big poster signs and things on the telegram poles around there?
I've seen signs, but I couldn't tell you what's on them. But
I don't want you to tell me what's on them as such, but have you ever thought about telling your fellows to remove them?
Well, you talking about sign? I don't know who's putting the signs out. It might be. I don't know.
It's not part of code enforcement, the only thing I'm saying. And we would love to have it not there. It's right in front of your place.
You talking about like that pole right there?
Yes, yes.
There are signs that advertise parties and concerts and things like that. They're not approved through the city.
Right. I don't think anyone from Johnson Service Station is putting those up either. But
I'm just speaking of beautification of the entire area there.
Right.
Any other comments?
Excuse me. Do I understand that staff did not sign off?
Yes.
Would you share with us the reason why?
Well, one of the reasons why we staff, I can only speak for myself, is that when I look at the Midtown plan, it seems that it's going in a different direction from what the plan is based on.
Okay.
But would not in effect be grandfathered in if it's existing?
Well, they put up a new structure.
But if that's the case, then why are you saying we should approve it? Why is it recommended?
May I say something with this? And when I looked at the plan, and Mr. Bryan and I, we talked extensively about it. When I looked up at the plan, it does not say anything specifically to what we're doing in terms of putting up this canopy. It doesn't address that, but I understand. We've had a long conversation, but they don't want car washes moving in the neighborhood, and they don't want the canopies because it can be an eyesore. However, in our situation, it beautifies the area, and it might be an impetus for someone to come in and do something to that lot next door. To us. So, it beautifies the area. It doesn't bring it down in any way, and it's not affixed to the building. And like I said, we have to move in incremental steps, like Dr. Jameson said. Did I get that right? Mm-hmm. I didn't say Brown. So I don't know. Like she said that, why not put a permanent structure? If we look at the entire Midtown plan, for us to really achieve what we want to achieve, we got to do things that's going to be conducive to getting people in here. And that's what I'm doing. I'm from here. I grew up, born, left, and came back. And, Daytona is where I live. And, we're not going to get people coming in here, buying up property, building hotels and motels and stores in a neighborhood if we don't take care of what we have. And the problem that I see right now is the fact that we don't have the businesses that we had back in the 60s and the 70s. In the 50s, the business in the community, because I heard someone said we need to get the people coming back. Who wants to come back? The pillars of our community are getting older, and their children are moving out. Now, if you want the children to move back, then what are you doing for the children who are here like me? And I'm not asking you to do nothing for me. I'm saying let's keep that going, just like Dr. Jameson said. When your dad retired, then what you going to do with the business? Well, we going to keep it going. But we don't have the capital to say, hey, let's demolition this place and let's build this Taj Mahal. We can't do that. And then you're not going to get return on investment. But if we go into little steps, and then we can reach our ultimate goal that Midtown is trying to accomplish here, but it's not going to happen overnight, as you guys know. Sorry, I get the roll. Sorry.
The board has spent quite a long while and quite a bit of money to give an overall or develop an overall impression of what the character of the community ought to be. And it's my opinion. Do you own the property, but you don't own the business? Is that correct?
I own the whole thing. Someone else does the car washing. Yes.
They rent from him.
Yes.
But do I understand that the car washing is the major part of the business?
Yes. The car washing is the major part of the business.
And that's yours?
Yes.
Okay. That's neither here nor there with what my comments are. My comments are that this is not compatible with the character and of use and aesthetics that we had worked toward recommending that these be the rules that we now live by. So that's just my comment.
And then my response to that is, it's already existing, and there are two awnings up there that is acceptable. And if we're trying to improve the aesthetics of it, putting a bigger awning that matches the building would be more conducive to you achieving your goals in Midtown, as opposed to having a hodgepodge tarps on top of aluminum poles. You know,
I will accept that that's one man's opinion.
right? Just like I accept your opinion. you know.
My comment is that we have to remember what we do tonight is going to set a precedence. There are other car washes in the neighborhood. We're setting precedents tonight, because if we do something here and do something different somewhere else, now we've got problems.
Mr. Tooley, may I say one other thing?
Not now.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Williams.
Okay. Let's see if I can get this right. The car wash is not, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Dr.
I'm in a good mood, y'all.
Dr. Jameson.
That's right. The car wash is not going away. Fact. Okay? All right. I happen to have used that car wash, and I know that when I took my car there, I did two things that same day. I walked across the street and got me a pork chop sandwich. I walked across the other way, and it was good. And I went to that city store. Okay. I pass by there all the time, and there are a lot of people using that car wash. Okay. It's grandfathered in terms of it's going to stay there, right?
Absolutely.
So I think what he's trying to, okay, and I've seen the two canopies there, and they don't look bad. They just don't match. That's one thing. But I don't think we're setting the precedents, as you're implying, by approving something. We are enhancing something that exists. Okay. Now, if another car wash comes along tomorrow, well, by law, we can't say no right now, right? Anyway, so I think what we're doing, and as I said, I thought that was a good answer. We got to do things incrementally. Every business there is going to have to improve incrementally. And I guess what I'm saying is, after I heard his answer, that I don't see us changing our goals. I see right now we're trying to improve what exists there. Because, and I say this, one of the biggest problems I have right now with our plan is I don't see the step-by-step how we're going to get there. And one of the things that I think the first thing that we're going to have to do to ever get to our big plan is we're going to have to improve what is there. And we may have to accept what is there and beautify what is there. And so I don't think we're doing anything that is inconsistent with our master plan. That's just one woman's opinion.
You know, this initially, when I was thinking about it, this sounded like a catch-22. But when you need to get down to the where the rubber meets the road, it's not. It's simple. If there's a cease and desist, if there's a desist, once a business is deceased, then that takes care of the issue altogether. But just like Dr. Jameson said, is what is there needs to be attractive initially. And so, and I do understand, and I don't think we're encouraging his business. He's already stated, just flat-footed there instead, and said, we plan to be there even after my father has gone. So I think we really, really need to be smart about this and understand that this business is here, and it's already grandfathered in. The thing that needs to happen is we simply need to hurry along and create an ability to say there will be no more car washes if that's what we desire. And actually, the other car washes in the area that are also grandfathered in could also benefit, and we could benefit from them following the same his example in beautifying the area, because we keep saying, and even prior to this discussion, I've heard twice before that the area needs to be attractive for businesses that might be considering coming to the area. And let's not forget one very, very, very important thing that we continue to look over when it comes to stuff like this, is that we're employing people.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question. There is another car wash on Mary McLeod Bethune that has the type of canopy he's requesting, and I know they haven't come before this board. So my concern is, if his goes up, evidently people don't think legally. They'll say, well, Pooh Bear has a steel canopy, Johnson has a steel canopy. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and put a canopy up, because we tag along, because we assume before we inquire that it's okay. So my concern, what does it cause confusion-wise when one person does it and there's no repercussion and one person's told yes or no? Because throughout Midtown, all the businesses basically piggyback off each other.
Code enforcement.
Code enforcement will be there. And
Mr. Johnson, no, this is board discussion.
Okay.
I guess you just approved his decision to do it. If somebody got it already, then he can go put it up without our permission if we didn't ask the first people to take it down.
Well, my concern is, he knows that canopy's on 2nd Avenue.
I don't know that.
Trust me.
The redevelopment code requires site plan approval.
Exactly.
Site plan approval's got to be done by the board.
Did the first people get it?
If this other location is in
No.
the Midtown area and they didn't get site plan approval, then they're in violation of the code.
Okay.
I'm just putting that out there because I know what this is going to turn into. So my concern is the assuming before it turns into a legal issue.
Mr. Johnson, I understand where you're coming from, and I do appreciate you going through the process of coming to the board like we ask all of them to do. My thing is, I wish we can go back and revisit permits and everything and tear all of them down that did not come before this board. I have a problem with people not following rules and regulations. I don't have a problem with you putting up a canopy. I noticed it has already been purchased and it did not cost $99. I know that myself. It will beautify MLK step by step. But I would love to get in touch with the people who own the property next door to put up shrubberies, something like that. But going back to permits, we let it happen. It's not your fault. We let it happen. Then code enforcement go over us, and they approve things or they don't come to us. And we're going to talk about some of those things later if you stick around. But I understand where you're coming from. It will help beautify. I don't know whether I'll be around when the plan is implicated, years to come. I might be around and may not be. But right now, you're only asking to put up the canopy, and preferably there will not be too much feedback from others. Only thing I say to the board, to the commissioner, and all, I am tired of people not getting permits. Whether it's retail, selling Mother's Day T-shirts on the corner, people coming in with trucks on the corner or international, whatever, not following the rules. I can go along with people following the rules. That's the only thing I'm saying. And we supposed to be the eye of the community. I think I heard that yesterday, did I not? That we are the eyes of the community. If we see something going wrong, report it. But we get tired of reporting things and nothing is done.
Dr. Jameson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve action item DEV 2013-029 for Johnson Service Station.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Yeah, we need to, yeah. Been properly moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this? Yes, sir. Mr. Shanks, if you'll give your name and address for the record.
I'm Bill Shanks. I'm a member of this board at a sitting position. I live at 850 Clyde Morris Boulevard. What I don't understand, the major issue of this project is wastewater. All the water used in this project will have gas and oil in it coming off of the bottom tops of cars. Legally, it's supposed to go through a wastewater separation program on site that separates the gas and the oil from the water before the water is put into a storm drainage system. Looking at the photographs I've seen, the storm drainage system is the street. That water is running just right out of that gutter and down the street. And all that gas and oil is coming down for the children to play in, which is hazardous. If it hadn't been hazardous, they would have made OSHA laws and environmental protection laws to prevent it. And that was my question, and I may be way out of line, but I don't think the canopy is a problem at all.
That's the only issue we're dealing with.
What's on the ground is going to kill people. I don't think the canopy is going to fall on anybody tomorrow. But the oil and gas that's already out there probably will. Thank you.
May I respond to that, please?
You don't need to, because that's not the issue.
Okay, but
yes, ma'am.
I think my concern is, how did this become a car wash without meeting the approvals of
whomever?
The name.
EPA?
St. John's Water River, whatever that is, that where you go through with disposal of water, because I know we had an issue with another car wash that they had to come into compliance. I think all of them had to come into compliance. So how is this in operation if it's not in compliance with the county and the state?
Mr. Chair, that issue has been resolved through the wastewater department. They have already made them put in the necessary drainage and everything for the water to run in.
Thank you. Yeah.
Question is,
We have a motion.
Any further discussion on the question on the floor, which is the approval or disapproval of the canopy?
One comment.
Well, Mr. Williams has his hand up.
I have one question, one concern, because that entranceway is so close to the highway, that with people backing out of there and people turning in off of Martin Luther King, to me that could be really problematic. Just a suggestion that you keep all the traffic going south, and that's just a suggestion, because you know that's really close.
Yeah.
And if people back out and you've got somebody coming in off of Martin Luther King, that could really be.
yes, and yes, that's a good idea. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. McGee.
We had, As a board, we had an objection that lasted for a long time with respect to the convenience store that was not compatible with our planning, our proposed planning, and that eventually was resolved. I'm not in the mood of giving that.
All right. Are you ready for the question?
Question.
Known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Aye, nay, or whatever.
At the opinion of the chair, the code passes. Our recommendation is passed. Staff report. Captain Blanchard.
Hello there. Let me first give a little disclaimer here. I apologize for not appearing in front of you in uniform. However, I am not allowed. I had knee surgery last Friday, and I'm considered a light duty status because I can't do my regular job. So without being full duty, they won't let you dress in a uniform or carry a firearm and things like which I miss. So it's unfortunate, but hopefully I'll be cleared pretty soon. And a lot of people apparently don't recognize me out of uniform and with a goatee, as I found out last night. But, all right, I'll try not to take up too much of your time. Let's talk about crime here in the city. Citywide, currently we are 7% above crime, at a 7% above what we were this time last year. And that breaks down, it's mostly because of the west side of the city. The west side of the city is currently 11% above what we were last year. Let's talk about some of these categories where we are above. One of the biggest ones that's hurting us is auto thefts. Currently we're 32% above compared to last year. 32% is a big number. Another area that we're hurting in is shopliftings. We are up 33% as compared to last year. One of our primary focus areas is the Walmart on Bevel Road. I do not have anything to back up this statistic. However, I was told that they have lost $4 million in product since the first of the year due to theft, retail theft. Let's see some of the other areas where we're up. Ag assaults, we're up 35%. And for the total Part 1 crimes, we're up 11%. Now, we are down in some categories. But if you look at the things that we're up in, the retail thefts, the domestic violence is another area where we're up 19%, aggravated assaults, and auto thefts. These things are very difficult as police officers to get proactive on. Things like burglaries, we can saturate an area and stop suspicious people. There's a lot of things we can do. Short of putting law enforcement officers inside of businesses such as Walmart to show a presence and to be there to prevent that, it's very difficult for us to get ahead of that type of crime. There are some other areas where we are having some great successes. Let's talk about burglaries for a minute, which is one of the things we can proactively control. We can try to control. Residential burglaries were down 20%, and non-residential burglaries, such as businesses, were down 10%. Let's talk about some other things where some other areas were down. Total robberies, armed robberies currently are up 17%, and strong armed robberies, however, are down 31%, for a total of robberies down 6%. Also, let's talk about total calls for service. Total calls for service compared to last year, we're currently down 6% compared to this time last year. Now, with this picture that I've painted, we're currently on the west side up 11%. Let me just throw some things out there that we're currently doing. Starting on the 24th, which, as you well know, is a holiday weekend, we have put together a team of officers. It's going to be 6 officers and 1 sergeant who are going to be hired on an overtime basis paid through grant funds, which are actively and aggressively going to be out there during the holiday weekend to proactively stop some of these things, some of these trends that we map through our CompStat program. That is going to continue. That hiring of 6 officers is going to continue to the end of June because we have a certain amount of grant money which has to be spent by the end of June or we lose it, and we don't want to give it back. So what this grant money, we've we've forecasted it out. It's going to allow me to hire 6 additional officers, 5 of the 7 days a week. Now, we're going to mix that up between night shifts and day shifts. When we're having some trouble with burglaries, a lot of times burglaries happen when people are at work. So chances are Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, we're going to focus on day shift in the problem areas where we're having burglaries, car breaks, and things of that nature. The weekends, Friday, Saturdays, that's when we're having the problems with the weapons complaints and things like that. So those officers are going to be working the Friday, Saturday, busy nights. We also started up a truancy program, which is going to run to the end of the school year. It's going on every day of the week, and there is an officer who patrols the city looking for truants, and every day they're coming in with anywhere from 5 to 7 truants who are brought back to the proper schools. Now, that is important because if you've been in the business of law enforcement for any amount of time, it equates to idle hands or the devil's workshop, and if they are not in school, chances are they are doing some type of other malfeasance or planning some other type of malfeasance. So if we can nip that in the bud, then that's what we're trying to do with that. Something real quick, if I could just have a few more seconds here before I open up to questions. I have another meeting tomorrow night, and specifically at this meeting tomorrow night, they asked me to break down the Part 1 crimes as it compares to female victims, something we traditionally don't do. So it was kind of interesting how the numbers came out. So I asked for these numbers, and I just got them before I came over here, and I'd like to just throw them out there real quick to you, how it compares, because it is interesting. And this is a comparison from January 1st of 2012 to May 10th of 2012, as compared to January 1st, 2013 to May 10th of 2013. And here are the numbers. Aggravated assaults, we are currently down 2%. Homicides, we are down 100%. Armed robberies, we are actually up 78%. Now, that number seems like a very large number. But it's in the same time, 2012 compared to 2013, we had 9, and this year we had 16. That puts us at a 78% increase. Strong arm robberies, we are, however, down 17%. Sexual batteries, this is a staggering one. We're up 107% for sexual batteries. Auto thefts, we are down 8%. Burglary non-residents, this one is, and same with burglary residents, we're up in both categories, 20% and 38%. Now, those we don't really look at too much because it may be the wife reporting it, so it's not necessarily specifically a female type of crime. And larceny car breaks to vehicles, we're down 6%. When you add all the percentage together, we're currently, female victims, we're up 10% in the city. Currently up 10%. And one of the reasons is, let's back up to larceny car breaks. We're currently down 6%, but we have noticed a trend of females who are leaving purses in plain view on seats, on back seats, within plain view of the car, and they're smashing windows and reaching in, grabbing purses, and taking off. We've seen every ComStat period, 2-week period, we see probably anywhere 3 to 7 of just those alone. So if you go anywhere, have your friends and family, please put them in the trunk, take them with you, and that would help us out greatly. Now, that's basically my report, and if I can answer any questions that the board may have at this time. Anything you'd like me to highlight or talk about? Yes, sir.
Do you have any reason why burglaries in particular are down versus the other Part 1 crimes?
Yes, because once again, there's a lot of things we can do about burglaries, especially when it comes to the ComStat and how it reports. It actually identifies trends. Not only does it identify an area where we're having a problem, but it will also pinpoint the times. And we can strategically focus in on those problem areas at those specific times. So we're not wasting a bunch of law enforcement hours by trying to saturate a neighborhood hoping to find a burglar. Where this program that we use, we can pinpoint the area and the times. So if we know a time span, it's happening Wednesdays and Thursdays between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m., well, we can take a bunch of police officers and put them in there 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. And chances are it increases our ability to hopefully hone in and get the bad guys. That's why they're down. It's a lot easier. Where domestics, we don't have that luxury. We don't have that luxury to identify a trend because traditionally domestics happen behind closed doors, and even if we saturate a whole bunch of law enforcement officers in there, we don't know. We don't know where that's going to happen. Right. Yes, ma'am.
I know the officers are not necessarily on school board campuses besides the ones that are there for middle school and high school, but recently there has been a few reports of car break-ins of the faculty and staff at the schools. So I'm wondering if you see a trend and if the Daytona PD is riding through on those school properties. Because I know we've got memos about a few of those.
Right. We actually do try and ride through the school parking lots. Okay. It is a priority of ours. And to the point where if an officer has a report to write, we ask that they do it in a school parking lot. Okay. Because if you look across the nation, we see tragedy after tragedy after tragedy that is occurring at our schools. And our children are innocent victims. So a lot of times we can thwart that just by presence alone. So our officers are encouraged. If you have a report to write, do it in the school parking lot where you're plainly visible so that everybody can see it. So yes. And car breaks are a unique thing because a lot of times they are regional. We'll see a problem in an area and we can try and target just like we do with the burglaries. And what we do with car breaks and burglaries is we can look, okay, who got out of jail recently? Who is a known burglar to us? And we focus in on that as well. So once again, car breaks, burglaries, there's a lot of things we can do. But the domestics, even armed robberies, those are spontaneous things that we really, we can't really proactively get out there and try to other than presence, try to enforce those.
There's auto thefts. Are they stolen from parking lots, from homes, or?
All of the above. Parking lots, homes, you name it, that's where they're being stolen from. We have a lot of the people stealing these cars are juveniles. And here's part of the problem with this is we can arrest a juvenile and the Department of Juvenile Justice, because of budget cutbacks, a lot of times we arrest them, sometimes they won't even take them and we have to release them to their parent. Sometimes we arrest them, they take them and they're out the next day.
Can you give a guesstimation of whether or not, how many cars are locked or unlocked?
Well, I tell you what, based upon, now don't quote me on this, based upon what's been going on with the current trends, I would say it's about a 50-50 with unlocked vehicles. And matter of fact, but you look at that 50-50 with unlocked, half of them are unlocked, but the ones that are unlocked, I would probably say, of that 50%, I would say 50 to 60% of those had the keys with them in the ignition or in the vehicle. So that's, of that 50%, we're looking at possibly another 50 to 60 that have the keys with it, which doesn't do us any good. It's a crime of opportunity. Juvenile or even an adult's walking by and see a car with the keys in it, that's a crime of opportunity, just like the purse on the seat. Jump in it, take off.
So if someone were to, say, develop a campaign through the churches and social organizations with these two things on there, that all over the community saying, lock your cars, take your key out.
No valuables.
And don't leave any valuables.
That would help us immensely.
That would, simple enough, and say, put it in your church bulletin 12 times.
That would help us out immensely. Information is power. The more information we can get out to this community, the more powerful we become at stopping the criminal element. I cannot stress that enough. That is why I enjoy attending boards such as this. If I can give you information and you can go and pass it on to your church, pass it on to your neighbors, pass it on to your family, and then they can pass it on, the more information I can give you and the more information you can pass on, the stronger we can get. That's the truth of it. Any other questions?
Ms. Gato.
I think she asked the questions, well, two of them. What measures were being used to prevent thefts? How many actual car dealership auto thefts have we had?
We've had quite a few, especially this last CompStat period. Okay. We had, I can think of 3 off the top of my head. And what we have done about that, we have passed out a letter, informational bulletin letter, to all the car lots within the city of Daytona Beach. We did that, it was Saturday and Monday. We handed out a letter to the chief wrote up a nice letter, explained the problems. So hopefully, we won't have any more taken from car lots.
Because if you travel Nova Road dusk dark and after dark, there's one car lot. I don't know if it's due to budgetary, economical measures, but their lights are completely out, pitch black. And then there are other car lots where they used to block the entrances with cars. Some of them now are just using the gates with chains. So my question is, are these people finding the keyboard where the keys are stored, or are they breaking in and hot wiring?
Well,
and you used to see security, so my concern is, what measures are they using on the commercial lots to prevent the thefts?
Well, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I can tell you that the thefts that have occurred at the car dealerships have been happening during business hours. During business hours. To give you an example, a juvenile happened to go into where they hold the keys, took the keys off the board, went out, took a car. One of them was left with the keys in it after a test drive. Crime of opportunity, jumped in it, took off. The ones that I'm thinking about all happened during regular daytime business hours. And I cannot remember one that we have had where one was taken off of a lot after hours. I can't think of a single one.
Okay. As far as private properties, homes and apartment complexes, do you work through management for something to be put in the lease? Are there signs posted? Because I know a few gas stations have signs saying that there's a Florida statute that if you leave your keys in the car or leave it running and you leave it and go in and come out and it's stolen, you wouldn't be able to make a claim and things. So what measures are being made? Because Daytona's 90% rental. What measures are being used for these private properties to get the word out? I mean, is the city going to take a step to say, let's talk to the rental property management, or is it something that will have to be noticed in a bulletin from an outside social organization?
I'm happy to say we have a great rapport with a lot of the apartment complexes in the city, and we do like to pass on information. We have an email list that we can email to many of the managers of the apartment complexes of crime trends and things like that. In this electronic age, that is a great tool for us. The market that we don't reach is the home rental or the smaller privately owned. Those are the ones that we really don't have a good, strong foothold on. But a majority of the bigger ones, we do. We have contact people, and we do reach out to them, not just for the cars, but with burglaries to the vehicles, burglaries of apartments, potential hazards in the air, things of that nature.
And I know we just finished having all of the meters installed. Some people may not have received theirs yet. But there was a card that was put in the mail from that company saying that they would be coming out to replace the old meter with the new.
Right.
And then the city put something out. So once again, I'm wondering if that's a measure that can be used through the city on the water bill, or a postcard stating that Daytona period, not a specific area, Midtown, but Daytona period is running a campaign to make auto thefts disappear, and these are measures you can use. Is that something we could use citywide through the water bill, or just like the little card that I received last week from the city stating that the company would come, or that may have been around, to replace the new meter? I know that a lot of people get mail, but when they see a smaller piece that's a different color and it's in that bold print, they tend to read it and adhere to what it's saying. That's just a suggestion. And going back to your program with the officers, that was a question I asked last month, because there's been a cut in leisure services with funding, and basically our city will not have, if I'm correct, Commissioner Reed, as far as summer programs, the funding's tight. They won't have all the centers open. As of right now, there's only 2. And that's not going to serve the need, especially for Midtown. So my question last month was, what is the city going to do to create a program that if a child wants to leave Midtown and cross International to get over to the pool, and kids will be kids. Mama may say stay in the yard, but if they want to swim or go to the corner store, if they're stopped by the police, some kids have a fear. Some children will say, we're going to the pool. There's going to be an abundance of children because people work. There are not a lot of big mamas around and aunties and cousins that can say, come to the house and stay. What are we going to do to make sure that this is a pleasant project put into process to where our children aren't at fear that they can walk to the corner store, they can walk to a cousin's house, and if the police stop them, because my concern is kids are going to be kids. We're going to have those that leave that with bad intentions in mind, and we're going to have those that have good intentions in mind. What are we going to do to let them know that we're out here for your safety and we're concerned? Because you know how parents will jump the gun and assume that their child will stop for no reason.
Well, I don't know if there's a simple fix to that, other than trusting the experience of the officers that work for me. From having been in law enforcement for 23 years, I can tell you that we have a group of highly professional officers, and they're good at what they do. And if they stop somebody, they're going to have a reason as to why. And if that person dispels their reasoning for stopping them, we will let them go. We will facilitate getting them where they need to be safely. If you look at our past track record, things like that, we have a really, really good rate of stopping the right people. Now, I'm not going to say it's 100% because every once in a while we do stop the wrong person. And if we do stop the wrong person, we do everything within our power to make it right. And other than continuing that tradition and continuing to rely on the expertise of my officers, who I believe do an excellent job at what they do out there, I don't really foresee a big problem with that. But let me just add this out there. Let me throw this out there too, is we are trying to apply for a grant. If we can get this grant, we're going to hire 9 additional officers. Right now, the plan is to take those 9 additional officers and put one at each city facility, if we can get the 9. So there's going to be one at the pool, there's going to be one Midtown, there's going to be one at the new facility up off of Vine Street. There's going to be a law enforcement officer right there, and they're going to facilitate the programs. So as far as closing some of these programs, we might be able to do something about that and have these facilities open so we can have these programs. Like I said, it's in the works. Whether we're going to get the grant or not, we don't know, but it's something we're trying for.
And that would be for this summer?
I don't know exactly when we're supposed to get the okay on a grant. I believe it's pretty quick, and if we do, once again, we're going to have to do the hiring process and things like that, but that is the plan. It's a 3-year grant.
My concern was for the summer with the kids getting out, because a lot of people have asked me, are there scholarships available? And asking the question last month, I thought we would have a kickback from Leisure. Someone would have been here to explain to us.
Can I ask a question before you go? Is it not true that the Boys and Girls Club is going to operate the Dickinson Center this summer?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Only going to be 2. The other 5 will, the other 3 will be closed.
Speaking of my,
That is true, but there's still there generally 5 centers that'll be open during the summer, and this year the Boys and Girls Club, well, Commissioner can speak more to that, but there'll still only be 2 centers open, so that's a 60% reduction in the availability of places for your children to go during the summer. And I'll let you have that flow, but I do understand what you're saying, because sometimes with the increased police patrol, there can be the perception that we're being picked on. And what I get what you're trying to say is that you want the citizens to understand that this is for your protection, and how do we communicate that proactively rather than waiting until some incident happens. Is that basically what you're saying?
Right. I'll do my part and inform people at my church and different organizations.
The churches are a great catalyst to spreading this information, because the people who attend church, let's be honest, they're the ones that we want to reach. They're the ones that we want to get this information to. They're the ones that are going to help us carry this message to their friends, families, etc. So they are a great catalyst to spreading this message.
In address, well, good evening.
Good evening.
In addressing, thank you, Mrs. Cato's concern in regards to Midtown, at our last City Commission meeting, we did approve for the Boys and Girls Club to go into Midtown, into the Dickerson Center. In fact, they're changing their name to the John H. Dickerson Boys and Girls Club, and they will be housed there, and their programming is open to all students between the ages of 6 and 18. They're serving breakfast, lunch, and an afternoon snack, and they will be open, the flyer's in my car, but I know at least 5 days a week during the summer, and they go into the center in June. And that was also mentioned last night at our revived Neighborhood Watch meeting.
Commissioner Reed, do they
Yes.
have a cap on the amount of students? They
No,
can
actually,
house?
they're going to be able to serve more than they were because of where they were located previously. So now they're excited about being able to serve more young people in our community and being able to utilize those facilities that the city has available to them. So that's a feather in our cap. So Midtown and Dickerson Center and Schnebley. So that's 3 out of 5. Okay? Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any more questions concerning the comp stat report of Captain Blanchard?
Anything? Anyone?
Can I ask that you provide a copy of that female victim?
I sure can. Is there a photocopier here on premises that I could get you one tonight? I just need this back, if you will, because Thank you very much. I appreciate you giving me an opportunity to speak with you, and I will see you next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And stay off that knee.
I will try. It's hard. It's hard to keep up with the chief, though, I'll tell you.
Well, don't be biking with him.
I tried that. That's what got me.
All right. And when Mr. Bryant, Code Enforcement, are there any questions of the Code Enforcement report?
Yes, I have a question concerning the apartments on Magnolia Avenue. Was that only to be painted, Mr. Bryan? The first page here, is that part of the apartments there?
Yeah, the first picture shows the apartments not painted, and the next page shows that where they've been painted.
Okay. Was that the only building on this, in that area? I didn't have time to go by there.
I don't have the answer to that. This is, comes from the code enforcement officer submitted this report.
And further down the street there, is that near the corner of Franklin and Magnolia, 864?
That's actually Riva Street. That's Pearson, the side of Pearson's grocery store, the back of it.
The back side of it, yes.
That's Riva Street.
I can't believe that 239 is on MLK. We really need to clean MLK up.
That's not MLK.
And I also noticed 559 Mary McLeod Bethune Boulevard, the purple and green colors. Can you tell me more about the colors that we use in the city?
In redevelopment areas, the color's supposed to be pastel colors. This particular one was cited by code enforcement and actually was on their agenda at the code enforcement board. I did talk to Officer Lopez about this particular building because I've been in contact with the tenant, who's actually the owner of the Bales Bonds companies that located there. They are going to repaint this building. I just spoke with him on yesterday, so he did bring in the color palette that he's going to be painted. I think it's probably going to be white, something close to white that he's going to be painting.
Okay, I think that's under your report, the church on MLK. Is that in your report?
We're just doing code enforcement right now.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Sumner, did you have any questions? Mr. Williams?
No.
Dr. Brown?
Jameson.
Her name Jameson.
I'm sorry, Dr. Brown
My
Jameson.
daddy was a Brown.
Do you have a question regardless?
No.
Ms. Ford? All right. Mr. McGee?
No.
Mrs. Cato?
Yes. Question. What is the process when a property owner owns property and has a structure on it, and it is too expensive to bring it up to code? A house that's been sitting, the wiring, the house may be, the roof may be able to be repaired. It can be structurally repaired, but the wiring, which would probably be astronomical. So the house, it sits and sits and sits and decay. So it becomes an eyesore. Code informs the property owner. If that property owner can't bring that house up to code, it is then put on the list after the city has worked with them for it to be demolished.
Well, correct me being from wrong, I think it's referred to the building official. The building official makes the call whether it's an unsafe structure, and then he would put it on the list to go to the city commission for their approval for condemnation.
Okay. The property owner has to pay for that demolition?
Yes. If they don't pay for it, then if the city demolishes the house, we put a lien on the property for the cost of the demolition.
And if they can't pay for the demolition and the taxes, what happens to the property?
Often in that situation, whatever lien the city would put on the property is going to be behind the tax lien as well as a purchase money mortgage if there's one outstanding. And so presumably in that instance, one of the entities with the senior lien interest, whether it's the county for failure to pay taxes or the lender, would foreclose on the property.
Yeah.
We don't have the ability to foreclose on a property that's got liens ahead of ours.
I understand that process.
Okay.
Only because we have an astronomical high amount of properties that are sitting abandoned. Percentage-wise, what's the purchase rate that the city goes in and buys some of this property when it becomes where they can't pay the taxes and they can't pay, once the property's gone and it's listed on the roll for sale, is the city buying this property?
We have in the past, but there again, the city has to be in a position as far as the lien is concerned in order to purchase that property, because I've gone over to the tax deed sales, and no one would bid against the property because the city had a lien on it. But there again, it depends on what position the city is in.
Okay, I'm going back to a question I think I ask every year, and based on the information you gave us last month about all the dilapidated properties that were up for demo, and looking at that report, it goes back to our master plan. How are we going to get investors in here when the property that will be available is so small it can't be developed? So is the city going to, and I know you've done it before, offered the programs for first home ownership, are they going to start building more homes on this abandoned property where people can go through that process of first time home ownership through
community development?
Through community development, or will Midtown end up being a patchwork of small properties that investors can't develop and people can't buy because there's not a structure there? So if the city puts a property on it, will the program still be available? Because every month we're getting more and more properties that have just sat for over years. And some of them are, people are actually living in them, but they're not up to code. And eventually they will have to leave those structures because they know it's just a matter of time before something caves in or catches on fire. So the bottom line is, what is the city doing with the properties in Midtown if they acquire them? What will they do purchase-wise?
Let me go back.
I believe, can I go first? I believe that Mr. Ivy has a project approved that is based upon the new setback and priorities of the master plan that this board has written. And it's going to be an interesting project. It fits what we've been talking about, and it makes it possible to provide a pretty decent planning on smaller lots. And we're just loaded with small lots.
If I could, just in a bigger picture way, and you have to have a demand for people who want to buy houses too. And that's why we have a Midtown master plan, and that's why we're trying to change some of the thinking of local residents, the people from the outside, about this is an attractive place to come back and reinvest in, and people want to stay and reinvest in their own neighborhood. That's key. You know, you gotta want to be there. You have to have a grocery store somewhere nearby. You have to have certain services in a neighborhood, and those are important. Schools are important, and access to health care. Everything that we're talking about in Midtown is about having all the quality of life issues addressed. It's not as far as the housing part of it goes. We have as a city, as Charles mentioned, back in I think about 2007, we were buying up a lot of property, little pieces all over the place, and it was because they were fairly low cost, as we had a market that was increasing very quickly. And quickly, as I came on board, came to the conclusion that we didn't have a strategy for why we were buying them and what we're doing with those properties. So we own some of those vacant sites you see around the Midtown area. We've come to the conclusion that these need to get back out on the tax roll. They need to be in. We're not, our agency, and community redevelopment is not the one to actually be developing the houses. That's something for the private sector to do. But we have to dispose of them in a way that we can really make it happen. And this goes back to, well, how do you make it happen if these lots are too small? They're not, you know, we can't put them back out there and say, go ahead and build when our own regulations say that some of these, because of setbacks, everything else, are unbuildable. So our Midtown Master Plan and the regulations that are coming next will be, for us, the challenge of trying to put in something that rebuilds that urban neighborhood we used to have. And all those vacant lots, or some that are about to become vacant, however that may occur. But one thing I tell you is, financially, we do not have the capacity to come in and buy out those houses that are there. And I haven't talked specifically about this with Emory Counts of late, but there are some opportunities that may be coming forth in the federal government to do more of that. As you know, the programs we do have, we've got involved in one very large project with the funds that we were able to get. And so down the road here, there may be more opportunities. But right now, our intent is to deal with two things. One is to dispose of some of the property that can be put to good use and rebuilt, not left fallow. And to do that, we need to accomplish a few things through the Land Development Code. And then the second thing that's important is demolition of some of these structures that are no longer able to stand up on their own. It can't be rebuilt, can't be reoccupied. Though there's a number of those out there now, they're accumulating. And so we have to get serious about getting these back in front of the elected officials so they can have an opportunity to make some decisions on whether or not we can take some of them down. And again, for us, there's still a financial question of, you know, how do you get that done? You can try to place it on owners. A lot of these owners can't be found, right, Charles? Yeah. I mean, that's a real dilemma we're having right now. But I know we're very interested in getting back to looking at some of these structures that have been sitting here way too long. We you know, back in 2007 we had that tornado that came through, and it did a number on several of those structures. But now we're taking care of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ken.
Reed's comments begs the question of when might we expect that we will see a code that we've worked on that is more applicable to these lots we're talking about?
There's a couple steps that are involved. One is the comprehensive.
When?
I can't give you a date right now of when it's coming back, but there is a comprehensive.
My lifetime?
I hope so. I hope to see it for many years to come, Ken. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about right now we have the Land Development Code rewrite that we're going through right now, and that's the opportunity to put some of that in place. And we've been going through the actual codes, the use tables, and putting that information in there so that when we talk about setbacks, the other information has to be in there. We have some of that information, and you went through an exercise with the Oak and Fulton property. So that's what we are doing currently. And we hope to catch up with the process that Clarion had put together for this Land Development Code rewrite. And to get that officially into the rewrite, we also have to address some changes in the comprehensive plan.
In a wild guess, so what are we talking about?
It takes several months to go through that comprehensive plan process. So like the E-zone and some of the others where we have the same issue, we create a master plan, we have some new ideas, and we want to put the regulations in place.
Are we talking about 6 months?
At least 6 months, yes.
So That leads us to 12 months? What's the reality?
The reality right now is.
What's the reality?
The reality is to get that done as soon as possible.
But in time?
Ken, can I come back to you at the workshop and I will give you some dates?
Yes, please.
Okay.
All right. We thank you for filling in for the code enforcement report, Mr. Bryant. And we're ready for item 7 on our agenda.